Hey, and welcome for this new edition of my weekly newsletter for Ethereum Dapp Developer and Smart Contract Developers. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe now, and you can also subscribe to the newsletter on my website. So without further ado, let's start. So the first news of this week is the launch of EatTheBlocks PRO, which is my pet screencast, and I'm super excited to finally launch this. I've been working on this for quite a while, and finally I've decided to launch it. So you can see the landing page by going to this page on my website, EatTheBlocks/pro, and so you'll have a description of the first pro episode. So basically the idea is to provide some exclusive tutorial videos for Ethereum Dapp and Smart Contract 2 members. There will be one new video every week, and the starting price is set at 10 US a month. After that it will switch to 15, so 10 is just for the launch. And when you become a member, you will not only get access to these episodes, but you will also get access to a private Telegram group that I've created just for EatTheBlocks PRO, where me and other members of the Screencast will be able to help each other to discuss Dapp development and solve any problem you might find in these episodes. So some people ask me, Julian, what will be the difference between the episode in EatTheBlocks PRO and EatTheBlocks, the YouTube channel? Well, on EatTheBlocks, the YouTube channel, the episode will be a little bit at beginner level, and on EatTheBlocks PRO, it will be a little bit more intermediate to advanced. So you can expect to see topics like TDD, smart contract development. So TDD, it means test-driven development. So first you write the test, then you write the implementation. You can expect to see cover more security. And in general, I like to do more project on EatTheBlocks PRO, where basically it will not be just a one-off video, but often it will be a series where you will actually build a finished dApps or a more complex smart contract. So yeah, that's it for the presentation of EatTheBlocks PRO. If you have any question, then make sure you write them in the comment of this video, and it'll be my pleasure to answer you. Then the second link of this newsletter is this big video I released on how to become a blockchain developer. So that's my longest video ever. It's 36 minutes. And I'm quite proud of it. It got a really positive reception on the blockchain Reddit. It was trending at some point. I was really happy about it. A lot of positive comments. So if you haven't seen it, have a look. It's basically if you're a beginner and you want to get into blockchain but you don't know how. So in this video, I will lay out a step-by-step plan. There are 10 steps. That's basically the method I use for myself, and it has worked well for me. So I hope that it can be helpful to you too. And if you agree or disagree with what I say in this video, then make sure to write them in the comment. Next, I was interviewed in a podcast this week. So it's called Let's Talk ETC. So that's a podcast focused on Ethereum Classic. And so in this podcast, I basically introduce what's the current state of developer tools for Ethereum Dapps, and I also talk about my course with mining, where we built a decentralized application. And yeah, so that's my first podcast interview. So yeah, I'm quite happy about it. And then the next link is this tutorial to verify Ethereum contract using Web3 and solidity. So if you've been using Etherscan, you might have seen a feature that allows to verify a contract, where basically if you are a developer and you publish your smart contract, basically you can upload the source code to Etherscan, and Etherscan will verify that the bytecode matches the source code that that the source code that you provided actually compile into the bytecode that is in the blockchain. And if that's the case, then you will have a little badge that says contract verified, and that help to increase the trust for your smart contract and your decentralized application. So there's something very important. And in this tutorial, basically they teach you how to do this, but on your own, on your computer, without relying on Etherscan. So it's quite interesting, and it gets a little bit little bit deeper into the details of the bytecode and things such as contract metadata. So I learned quite a few things with this tutorial. It was super interesting. Then there is this tutorial on a PubSub pattern in Solidity. So what is this PubSub pattern? So PubSub pattern, it's something that does not come from blockchain. It's something that is very common in web application. And the idea is you have a producer of information and many consumer of this information. And we want to find an easy way for them to communicate without having the producer knowing too much about the consumer. And so the typical use case for smart contract will be, let's say you have one smart contract that provide information to many other smart contracts. The problem is if the smart contract that provide information has to know about all the other smart contracts, it will make it really complicated to implement the system. So we will use a third smart contract in this case, whose job will be just to publish the information to all the subscriber. And this tutorial will explain you how to do this. So it's quite interesting. Then there is a new version of the Remix IDE. So this new version has a lot of new features, but I think the single most important new feature is the new version of Solidity 0.5.0. I've heard people saying that there are still a few bugs. I haven't seen any, but if you see any, make sure you report them to the repo of Remix, because Solidity 0.5.0 is still quite new, so it's possible that there might be some instability here. Then they've Remix added some plugins. So actually, I know that very few developers are aware of this new feature of Remix that allow to extend Remix. So basically, one of the tab now, you can enable plugins, and they've added two plugins. No, actually, they added a lot more plugins. Okay, so the first one they added, which I think is cool, is Oracleize. So where Oracleize is the Oracle service for Ethereum. And the problem is when you want to develop on Oracleize, you need to deploy a sort of mock Oracleize contract, and it's not always easy to do this with Remix. So with the Oracleize plugin for Remix, you can do this easily. Then they have a lot of other plugins such as Solium, like a linter for Solidity, OpenZemplim. Another interesting one is Viper, where basically it's another programming language for smart contract. So now Remix is not just for Solidity, but with the Viper plugin, you can also use it for Viper. So that's super cool, and you can keep looking at all the other plugins. It's not the only improvement. Like you have like maybe 4 or 5 other features. So I'm not gonna go over all of them, but yeah, it's quite an interesting release of Remix, and Remix is becoming really better and better. Then we had an announcement of AWS that launched its managed blockchain service. So if you've been paying attention to Microsoft Azure, you've noticed that they've released some services just for Ethereum and Truffle. And so AWS saw that and it was like, like all these guys are moving their ass to add some feature just for blockchain, so we don't want to be left behind. So they are launching this service, and in particular, it will allow the creation of private network for Hyperledger and Ethereum. So this will be particularly useful for continuous integration And in particular, if you're building a blockchain project that does not rely on a public network, but on a private network, also with their tool, you'll be able to simulate the load on your private network, which is something not very easy to do if you have to do it on yourself. So that's quite cool. So far, the service is in preview, so you have to register to get access to it. So it's not publicly available yet, but it might be worth trying out. Then I saw this tutorial on Ethereum 2.0. So that's a series of tutorials actually, and this is the last article of this series. So in Ethereum 2.0, one of the things that people don't know is that actually there will be two ether that will cohabitate for some time. So there will be the sort of normal ether on the main chain, and then there will be ether that will be staked in staking a smart contract on the main chain. And once you stake your ether on this smart contract, then basically it's not possible to take it back to the main chain, and it's only possible to withdraw it to one of the shards of Ethereum 2.0. And this article explains how this works exactly. This is quite interesting if you want to know more about the future of Ethereum. And then there is this tutorial on how to do end-to-end encryption with Ethereum and IPFS. So IPFS is this decentralized network for storing files, and this tutorial has been created by AirSwap. So AirSwap is a protocol for peer-to-peer trading of ERC20 tokens, and as part of their project, they needed to develop a technology that allow peer-to-peer communication in an encrypted way. And so they explain, basically, they give a very high-level overview of their technology in this article. So my understanding is that their solution is very tied to AirSwap at the moment. So unfortunately, you can't just use it for your own project. But I believe that if they receive a lot of interest, probably that they will decide to extract a standalone library for it. The design is quite interesting, it's quite sophisticated. So if you are into encryption and cryptography, definitely check it out. And finally, I find this new ERC standard, so 1630, about hash time lock contract standard. So, which is most commonly known as a HTLC in the jargon in general. So basically, what is this new standard? So first of all, it's quite an easy standard because it's very short, and this is the implementation. So it's very easy to understand. So the general idea is that it's a sort of escrow that is secured by a secret. And this is the building block of atomic swap. So if you combine two HTLC contracts, you can implement atomic swap between two ERC20 tokens, for example. And if you find another blockchain that has similar smart contract capability, then you can combine an HTLC smart contract on Ethereum and an HTLC contract on another blockchain and do an atomic swap, which is cross-chain. So it's a little bit more evolved. I might actually do a tutorial on this because I think this is especially interesting. Yeah, that was it, guys. Again, if you want to make sure you receive the newsletter every week, make sure you subscribe on my website to receive the email. And if you like this video, please give me a thumb up, give me a like, and I hope to see you in my next video. Have a good week, guys. Bye-bye.